Anything for us. AyaWilliams. Summary. Cody's always wanted a girlfriend. So when a new girl took an interest in him, he was excited at first. Then she began to push her boundaries and got possessive of him to a dangerous degree. Or, she's the stalker girlfriend he always wanted. Until he got one. Cody had always wanted a girl who liked him. He didn't receive much attention from his parents. Friends were nice, but they couldn't quite fill the hole left by his inattentive parents. So he was desperate for a romantic connection. No matter what, though, no girl liked him. He had been shot down so many times. A new girl started to come to school. A girl with long purple hair and a large braid, brown skin, a yellow crop top, and jeans. She was at least DJ's height. Her name was Sierra. Cody had met her when he ran into her in the hallway. She'd been holding a few books, and Cody, being the kind of guy he was, helped her pick them up. It was his fault after all. At first, Sierra was great. She was always complimenting him, defending him from others, and honestly, it was nice to have some positive attention. Then she started to seriously press her boundaries. She was constantly following him, touching him in one way or another, even stealing his stuff. He tried to speak up for himself, but she didn't seem to get it. It had reached the point where Sierra was standing outside the bathroom waiting for him. He didn't have any time to himself. This was bad enough, but it began to get worse. Sierra was extremely possessive. If he so much as looked another girl's direction, she'd glare at them and pull him closer. This was especially bad with Gwen, who Cody liked so much that at this point the goth's mere presence would set Sierra off. This came to a head one day when Cody came to school. A large crowd of people were gathered in the hallway. Cody was naturally curious and made his way through the crowd to Noah, someone he wasn't really friends with, but they knew each other well enough. What's going on? Someone booby-trapped one of the lockers and it went off on someone. Noah winced. Cody managed to look through the crowd to find who it was. He gasped. Gwen! Her eyes were watery, swollen and red. She was struggling to open them and was making pained noises. He moved towards the goth, but that was when Mr. Hatchet arrived. "All right, stop gawking and start minding your own business," he barked. The classmates reluctantly went back to their own devices. Cody turned to Noah. "Do you have any idea what caused this?" Noah nodded. "My locker's next to Gwen's, so I saw what happened. She got pepper sprayed. Is she going to be all right?" he asked. "As long as receives medical treatment quickly, yes. She's going to be in pain and temporarily blinded, but she should be all right," the cynic noted. That day in class, he overheard everyone talking about what had happened. Speculation on who had booby-trapped Gwen's locker. Guesses ranged from Heather to Duncan to Scott. Any of them could have been behind it. Heather hated Gwen and had done some horrible things to her. Duncan was a prankster and may have accidentally booby-trapped the wrong locker. Scott had a habit of getting back at people, and Gwen was pretty brash. That was when Sierra, who had been oddly absent all morning, arrived. "Hey, Codykins." Cody frowned. "You're in a good mood." "Am I?" She giggled. "It must just be you." Cody stared at her. She seemed oddly happy. She'd probably heard about Gwen getting hurt. It was later in the day that Cody met Noah in the hallway. Noah turned to him. "Dude, you really need to do something about Sierra." "I know, but she won't listen to me. I've tried to tell her to leave me alone, but it's like it goes over her head or something." Cody sighed. "I meant something more than that, like reporting her to the police." Noah suggested. "I don't know. Would the police even believe me?" he asked. "Maybe not, but it's worth checking out." Noah replied. "Codykins, I was looking all over for you." Sierra gasped as wrapped her arms around him. "Don't worry, Cody. I won't let anything come between us." Cody couldn't see it since he was facing over her shoulder, but it sounded like she was threatening Noah. "Whatever, crazy," the cynic remarked, but there was fear underlying his usual snarky words. The next day things were all right. Or as all right as they could be with Gwen injured and Sierra stalking him. He managed to get away from her just before lunch. Cody found Noah at his usual table. "Hey, I thought about what you said. Do you think you could come with me to report it?" Noah nodded. No problem. He took a bite of his black bean bowl he'd brought to school. It wasn't long after that his face turned red. It swelled up like a balloon and so did his neck. Cody gasped, recognizing the signs of anaphylactic shock immediately due to his own experience with allergies. He quickly searched Noah's backpack for the EPI pen and administered it. A crowd had formed, and Chef once again had to break it up so he could get Noah to the hospital. What caused this? Cody asked. Izzy was licking one of the black beans from the bowl. Izzy, Noah almost died and you're eating his lunch? Peanut oil? The ginger said. What? Cody frowned. Someone covered Noah's lunch in peanut oil. This was no accident, Izzy told him. Noah's extremely careful with what he eats. He wouldn't have made this mistake. Someone did this on purpose? Cody gasped. Sierra flashed in his mind. She'd been threatening Noah yesterday. Had she overheard their conversation about reporting her to the police? Did she decide to take care of Noah before he could convince Cody to do something? His mind flashed back to Gwen lying on the floor, her eyes red, swollen, and watery. Then Sierra's happiness that day. Was she the one who'd booby-trapped the goth's locker? He whispered his thoughts to Izzy. The ginger nodded. Makes sense, but all the evidence is circumstantial. I doubt we can convince the cops of it. That was when Sierra arrived. Oh my, what happened? I was just using the restroom and when I got here everyone was talking about Noah choking? Cody wanted nothing more than to call Sierra out, but he managed to hold his tongue. He didn't want her to know he knew. Noah went into anaphylactic shock, Izzy said, giving Sierra the evil eyes. Oh no, you'd think he'd be more careful with his food, the fangirl said. He is, the ginger replied, her tone serious. Oh well, Cody, Wody, and I have lunch to eat together, don't we? Sierra said, an unnerving tone in her voice. Cody swallowed and decided standing up for himself was probably not the right call now. Sure? Sierra didn't leave him alone the rest of the day, which wasn't unusual. She often followed him home, but it meant trying to report her to the police was impossible. At least without her knowing. That night, Cody felt like he was being watched. He glanced out his window to find Sierra was sitting in a tree outside his window. Oh no, she'd never done that before. That he knew of. Maybe she had been doing it, and he simply hadn't noticed. The next day, Cody went to school, and Sierra was following him the entire time. In a way, it was calming, because so long as she was following him, she couldn't be setting something horrible up for someone else. Or so he thought, as she must have found the time. Izzy popped up out of nowhere. He jumped. Izzy, what the heck? Oh, hi, Cody, Sierra. I was just looking inside my locker and look what I found, the ginger said, holding out a 20-pound weight. It almost fell on my foot. Good thing I have good reflexes. She laughed before giving Sierra a glare. The ginger walked off, and Cody could briefly see Sierra's face contort in annoyance, but she quickly hid it behind an unnerving smile. Well, I guess that's lucky. The rest of the day was horrible. Sierra didn't let him out of her sight, and she walked him home. Not just followed him, literally walked him home. That night, Cody was once again in his room, and he could see Sierra in the tree outside. His parents weren't home. This wasn't unusual. They often worked overtime, but it meant he was alone. Okay, this had gone far enough. He snuck from his room, pulled out his cell phone, and dialed 911. An operator answered quickly. 911? What's your emergency? I'm being stalked. There's this girl who's been following me, and right now she's outside my window. I don't know what she might do, he whispered. Before the operator could finish, the phone was taken from his hands and thrown across the room. His eyes widened in fear as he looked up to find a devastated Sierra looking down at him. Cody, how could you? She asked. Sierra, I was just... He tried to excuse. I know what you were trying to do. I thought after I got rid of Noah you'd drop this whole reporting me nonsense, Sierra said. So you did put peanut oil in Noah's lunch, and I'll bet you got Gwen pepper sprayed and tried to set up that weight to crush Izzy's foot, he said. Oh, Cody, his stalker cooed, her pleasant tone of voice more unnerving than if she were yelling at him. Can't you see I did that for us? They were in the way. At this point, Cody's back was to the wall, and he noticed Sierra was carrying a bat. What's that for? I didn't want it to come to this Cody, she said, sounding genuinely upset. But desperate times call for desperate measures. Sierra, hold on. Can't we talk about this? He asked. Oh, we will, Sierra said, raising the bat over her head. At my house. Where were the police? He wasn't sure he could stall much longer. Sierra, please. I don't want to do this, but you leave me no choice. I'll do anything for us, Cody. She swung the and Cody closed his eyes, waiting for the impact. Only to hear a thud. He slowly opened his eyes. Izzy? The ginger was standing there, an unconscious Sierra in front of her. You were here? I've been following you two after Noah got sent to the hospital. I was worried Sierra might try something like this, Izzy said. Luckily, all it takes to knock someone out is a hit to the right pressure point. I hope the police are coming, he said. They are, Izzy replied, holding up the cell phone that had been knocked away. I'm pretty sure it's been on the entire time, so the police probably have her confession recorded. Sierra won't get away with this. It was a few minutes later that the police pulled up outside his house. Well, that's my cue to leave. I'm wanted by the RCMP, you know, Izzy said, and with that, she jumped out his window. Cody gave the police his report of the whole thing, and they handcuffed Sierra. As Cody watched them drag her away, he heaved a sigh of relief. She was being taken in. He could only hope she didn't manage to escape conviction.